I'll be mindful of the time.
Totally.
So,
Okay.
3, 2.
Okay. So, Bodhi, why don't you tell us your name and how old you are?
I'm Bodhi Bragonnier, and I'm 12.
Great. So let's jump in. Explain or describe dyslexia to me. What is it?
Well, I've been asked this question a multitude of times, and the problem with it is that I can't answer because I've never had a non-dyslexic, I've never seen it from a non-dyslexic person. So everything that I see could be completely different to another person. So I can't describe what it's like to be dyslexic, but I definitely see the advantages that it gives, and I've seen, and there are countless examples of ways that it has helped, that it's proven that it has helped people in the business field. So I can't tell you how dyslexia feels, but it's definitely a positive.
So what are some examples, like from your experience?
From my experience, well, since I was very young, I've always been very good at talking. Sadly, my father is kind of like the Jedi, the Yoda of the speaking world, so I can't get anything by him. My mom is a slightly different story, but still, she's pretty good. So when it comes to other people, I can usually convince them with my narrative reasoning. We call it the silver tongue in our house, but it's very hard to use in our households. But it's definitely an advantage in that case. And then also, I've just come up with many different businesses to sell, and that's been happening from a very young age. And I don't think I've never heard of anyone at the same ages that I've been create businesses the way I have, and so I directly correlate that with my dyslexia.
Do you want to talk a little bit about some of them?
Yes. So I believe my first business idea was something called pocket change, which I came up with somewhere around 7, which was a small pocket that you had magnets on the sides of the pocket, and then you also put magnets inside your shirt, and you could exchange as many marbles as you, not marbles, I used to collect marbles avidly, and I don't know if I'm using that correctly, but I used to collect a lot of marbles, and I could never transport them, so that's how I came up with the whole idea. So you could just put as many pockets as you wanted on any piece of clothing, which I made some prototypes with my mom, which was a lot of fun, but that never really took off, and I never started selling those. I also, right around the same time, around 7, I also came up with an idea, never went anywhere close to going along with it, considering I'm not a marble maker, but again, as I said, I loved marbles, and I had the idea of taking small photos and encasing them in glass marbles, and I called the business Heads Will Roll, because I could see how intricate marbles could get, so I figured it might be cool just to have a little family marble. Of course, I'd be super sad if the dog ate it. So that was my second idea, and neither of those really went. I never started selling them. I never started creating them. Probably rightfully so. I can't imagine a 7-year-old making marbles. Just doesn't quite work. But the first business that I really started selling, and I still have to this day, is something called Bodhi's Love Notes. Now, the backstory on Bodhi's Love Notes is my mom, when I was very, very young, like 5, 6, gave me these little cards about the size of business cards that said all sorts of different things, such as, you are pure sunshine, you are loved, these kinds of things. And from that very early age, I would take them and I'd just have like a pack in my pocket, or I'd have a pack in my mom's purse because I didn't have pockets, and I needed pocket change for that, but I didn't have that quite yet. So I would just ask my mom for these cards, and I'd, just slip them like to security guards. That sounds really bad, but no, like I would just give them to security guards, just to taxi drivers, just tips at the restaurant, just everything that I could, just to spread some kindness. And then I lost interest in it from about 7 to around 9.5. And then I remembered them, and I, with my mom's help, designed a bunch of new ones. And I put them online, and I was like, okay, does anybody want these? And the response I got was very, 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 very good. And within the first year that I had the website out, I sold over $1,000 worth of cards. Since then, it's kind of winded down, but it was a great, great experience, and I thank my dad tremendously for that, because from the very early ages of 6, he was always just encouraging me to think outside the box and think of these businesses not as something of my imagination, but something that could be created. So I thank my dad tremendously for that. And then I've got 2 new things that are coming up. One I don't know if I can speak about, because we don't quite have the ability to, because we hope to bring this to a large level and we do not have any sort of protection around it. But I can tell you that it's a board game to help with family disagreements, which I created within my, when I took my dad's course. Shameless little plug, NoticeAbility, check them out, cool stuff, cool merch. So I was in a group with a Swedish boy and a German twin girl, and we came up with this idea because they both had siblings, and I've got parents, which you can imagine it's very difficult. But especially during this quarantine, there's a lot of arguments going on, and so we created this board game to help with it. I'm going to stop there because I don't want to share anything too secretive yet. And then the second thing is I am also starting during this quarantine time. I'm starting this thing called Bodhi's Boot Camp, BBC, which I am going to be doing Zoom, hours-long Zoom classes to kids of similar ages to me, and with my mom's help, who is a certified personal trainer. And right now she's teaching. Me and my dad are doing a 2-month full-on workout training session, just learning everything that we can and working out as much as we can. After we finish that, I'm going on to Bodhi's Boot Camp with my mom with my mom with the certification, and we will be helping kids keep in shape during this time. So those are all the businesses that I have, but it does not mean that I won't have more.
I'm trying not to laugh out loud so it doesn't get the audio, but you're very funny. So
Thank you.
I'm finding that challenging. Okay. All right. So tell me a little bit about your dyslexia story. When did you find out? When were you identified? What was that experience like?
Well, I can't remember when I was identified because my parents knew the second I was born. They're both dyslexic. My dad's dyslexic and my mom's very dyslexic as well. And together I'm a purebred dyslexic, as they call me. And so they knew from the second I was born, but right around, I think it was 3rd grade, 2nd grade, when I was allowed to get a certification. I got the certification, and of course it came out positive. And so my official diagnosing was only around 2nd, 3rd grade, but my parents knew from the second I was born, and I am so glad that they have, because without that I would have went into this school system, which has been hard without the knowledge that there's so much more to come after with my dyslexic strengths. So that's when I was that was when I was not certified. You can't get certified to be dyslexic. That's when I was diagnosed.
So let's talk about school. What's it like? Talk us through your day.
Yeah.
The good, the bad.
Well, I've liked school up until 4th grade, which, and 5th and 6th grade, cause I'm right now I'm in 6th grade, have been challenging. My teachers just haven't been very attuned to me, or my dyslexia. But a normal school day for me, well, not counting this quarantine, would be waking up very early and getting to school, and we'd go into class, and my teacher would have some kind of writing prompt, which is, as most dyslexics know, so fun. And we do that for about like half an hour or so, and then we'd continue on to CS class, which right now we're studying Africa and colonialism and such. And we've had to memorize every single African state and every capital of every state, which, again, all you dyslexics know, so fun. And so then I continue on to math, and I love my math teacher. My math teacher's awesome. And so math is not easy for me. I'm okay at math, but my math teacher really does help. And then it's recess, at which point I've got to go back to math, because I don't usually get a recess. I usually either have to go to math, which is the most often, to get help with homework, or go to my homeroom and work there. But when I don't have either of those, I get to go to the shop studio, which is my favorite thing. I love shop studio. Both of my teachers are amazing. I especially love woodworking. I'm not very good at it. I hope to be. But that's my highlight of the day. Sadly, it's only the highlight of my week, considering I only get it once a week. But when I do get it, it's very, very, very fun for me, and I really enjoy it. Then I'll continue on to science, and my science teacher he's got a very interesting character. He's a cool teacher, and I love the curriculum that he's teaching. We don't quite skip to the same beat. We don't have anything against each other, and we don't have any sort of bond. We don't have, and he's got a very different teaching style than I'm used to, which I think is good, but just not quite my learning style. But that's science, and then we'll probably go back to CS for another 2 periods or so, and talk about Africa, and then that's the end of my day. So it's not too, well, then I've got to go home and do a bunch of homework, which is not very fun, but school can be fun sometimes, especially when I've got things like math, which is every day, which is nice, and shop and studio. But other days it's kind of a dread to go to school, and over however many years I've been in school, I've kind of gotten used to it. And it's I think the school that I've gone to, which I won't disclose, but the school that I've gone to has definitely taught me a lot, but this is my last year there, and I'm excited to leave, but I definitely do think that it was definitely a big learning opportunity for me. Not always in the ways that I liked, especially like when it comes to what teachers should be and should not be doing, and in my opinion, but you know, it's definitely taught me a lot, but I'm glad to be leaving.
So you're kind of leading me to my next question. Why is it important for teachers to understand how dyslexic brains work for their students?
Of course, when you don't have a student that's dyslexic, it's always good to know more than you need to, but dyslexia isn't something that you can see unless you're wearing some of this merch. Again, go get yourself some. You can't really see dyslexia, so a teacher doesn't know, like, oh, that kid's dyslexic, let's help them, unless they've gotten a diagnosis, which isn't something everyone can get, which I don't think is. I think that people should either be given the benefit of the doubt, because I know my school, if I were to be staying another year, I would need to get a second diagnosis, because my school doesn't know that dyslexia doesn't go away. Dyslexia is something you're born with and something you die with. But my school, had I stayed another year, would have insisted me get another diagnosis, which I don't understand, but it just shows that school is doesn't want to know more than they need to. And I think that you should learn about all sorts of different learning differences. Even if you don't know all the details, at least knowing something is better than nothing. And, you know, helping that student in any way you can is, I think, very, very important. My past teachers don't know anything about dyslexia, and it's been challenging. I definitely recommend learning as much as you can. And I'm not saying like every teacher needs to be a dyslexic genius, but I definitely think that not even just dyslexia. I think teachers should know about learning differences, especially ones that affect the classroom, such as dyslexia.
Yeah, how does their lack of knowledge influence the student? Like, do you have any examples?
Well, personally, I've known my dyslexia, and I've known all the advantages of my dyslexia for a very, very long time. So the small things that they don't know, I've been able to just let roll off my back, or when necessary, take action to. But I've got classmates who don't have dyslexia but have different learning challenges, and it's difficult when a teacher doesn't know, and when it comes to some learning differences, dyslexia is a more common thing, I think, than other learning differences, and I think that teachers should I think if a teacher doesn't care enough to learn about things that affect the classroom, such as a learning difference, I don't know that they should be a teacher. Because they're hired and they are paid to teach, and to have a closed mind to only teach something such as here is fun this sorry, I was almost about to give you a math problem. I'm not thinking about math right now. Like to memorize all of the continents, something like that. I mean, not all the continents, that's simpler, but all the states, for example, to not know about things that are direct, that go against that, especially within students, it's very, very difficult for the student. And I definitely recommend that teachers not necessarily take NoticeAbility, but get informed about things like dyslexia. Yeah.
So how about on the other side of it too? Why is it important for teachers to know the strengths?
I think it's important for teachers to know the strengths. Number one, it's all about just knowing everything that they can learn about dyslexia, and the strengths are definitely a very, very large part of that. And number two is to be able to say to a student, like, I know this is really, really difficult, but this is going to help in such and such a way, explaining it to the student. And I think being able to say, like, well, if you can learn how to write a paragraph, it's going to help with your speaking. And being able to explain that, and also not force the child to know certain things, like teach them what they need to know, but if a teacher is doing something that is not in the curriculum and is something in addition, if it is not going to help that student with dyslexia or negatively affect them, I would say don't make that student do that, because I think it's better to let a student pass, which I know can be embarrassing to some students. I am sometimes that student, but I think it's better than being negatively affected in the long run. So just being able to see the strengths, see the disadvantages, and just learn about those, and then translate that to what you know of the student is really, really helpful.
So, and you can, I don't know if you have this or if you want to answer it. Do you have any reading or writing that you wanted to show us? Like any samples or anything like that?
Well, I don't. I'm up in Maine, so I don't have any writing, and I don't know where my computer is right now. But when it comes to my dyslexia, I don't have a very hard time writing. In fact, I pride myself on being a poet. And that's not the difficult thing. Things like speech to text, and that is very, very helpful. My dyslexia really focuses in on not reading, but like spelling and writing, like writing with your hand. That's really difficult for me, or reading for a long time. And that is what my dyslexia is really going against for me. It's got so many different advantages, but that's my disadvantage. But I don't have any writing right now. I'm sorry.
No, that's good. I have a similar brand of dyslexia.
I'm sorry, say that again.
I said I have a similar type of dyslexia as to what you described. Okay, now the fun part. What are you good at? I loved in one of the interviews, I went down a Bodhi sort of YouTube wormhole, and you're fantastic.
Thank you.
And you had this line where you said, what do you lose time doing? I think that's how you said it, right? I don't want to misquote you. So what are those things?
I think you'd know better than me.
Yeah, you had talked about, I think the question was how, what advice do you have for, other dyslexic children right now that aren't loving school and that aren't, having a great time? What was your advice? So I guess that's two questions.
Yeah.
What is your advice? We'll start with that one.
I agree with the finding a hobby, but we're gonna get into that after, as you said. So I think that my advice is, it's definitely difficult for me too. This this whole thing, as I've said. I think that it's really breaking it into chunks, because when I get like 40 emails in the morning, 40 notifications in the morning, I'm like, oh my gosh, how am I gonna do this? But to take it and put everything else in a corner and focus on one thing, then you can move on to the next thing. And once you've done 3 things, you're gonna be like, wait, where did my pile go? It's just taking bite-sized pieces, which is, that's my advice. I definitely do get overwhelmed because all my teachers post everything at 8 exactly in the morning. So I'll be there and I'll be just getting notification after notification after notification. I'm getting like, oh my gosh, I've got to look at all of these and I've got to do half of them and I've got to do the other half tomorrow, and it's really overwhelming. Just being able to take a break, and now I'm doing these workouts in the morning, which number 1 takes my energy down, so I also recommend that. But taking my energy down, and just usually we go over 8, so I'll come back, and I recommend this. If you get all your notifications at one time, split it up, and don't be there for when they all come in. Come like 15 minutes after, and they will have all like subsided, and you can look through them at your own pace. So that's my other suggestion.
That's good. So then the things that you're good at, the things you love to do.
So things I love to do and things I'm good at are 2 different things. I love sports. I'd say that I'm an excellent hockey goalie and a lacrosse goalie. However, in lacrosse, all you need to do as a goalie is just no longer have nerves, which isn't too hard once you started at like 6. I've been a lacrosse goalie for a very long time, and now I'm a hockey goalie as well, which I love. So sports I love, and that's something that I definitely do lose time to. I also love woodworking, as I did say. Playmaking as well, but not quite as much as woodworking. Woodworking is just so fun for me. And in my school, I've got this great shop teacher, and he's taught me everything I know about woodworking. And I'm no longer going to be at this school, which makes me very, very sad, because I'm no longer going to be working on wood with him. But I am taking this on, and I'm getting some tools. We have a good friend who's a builder, and we're going to use some of we're going to take some lessons from him. And so woodworking I also love. I need to work on it more, so I'm not necessarily very good at it yet, but as I said, I will be good soon. I think those are my main 2. It's sports and like crafting, arts and craft are my main joys. But like I'm so down to like just go and do something completely different. Like recently I took up candle making. Now we are up in our friend's house, and their floor started white. Now they are pink and blue and all rainbow colors from wax, which is, great. But, just going into something and just trying something new is really, really fun for me. Just taking things that I already know. So like creating from woodworking, I took to candles, and lacrosse and hockey, I took to trick shots, which I've been doing a lot of at-home trick shots. So that's what I've been doing. Those are my faves.
Cool. So what do you wish people knew about dyslexia and dyslexics?
There's so much to know. But I think definitely knowing not only the disadvantages, but also seeing the advantages, knowing about the advantages, and like seeing different things. Like if every dyslexic was wearing a shirt like this, again, another shameless plug. If every dyslexic was wearing this shirt, I think people would, because there's stereotypes around dyslexia that's, dumb, stupid, which I totally think is malarkey. But if everyone was wearing a shirt like this, they'd look up and they'd see, the sharks of Shark Tank. Like 3 out of the 5 of them are dyslexic. I think it's something like 40% of self-made millionaires are dyslexic. Just being able to see that and be like, wow, I wish I was dyslexic. Don't mean to make them jealous, but I think it's definitely knowing those advantages. In fact, at a talk, I did have I had a question and answer, and someone did ask me, so how do I get this dyslexic stuff? Which is what I hope to put across, and to make people see the advantages, not just the disadvantages. The disadvantages are there, and they are there, and they are difficulties that need to be worked on, but really seeing the advantages are the two different things. It's like yin and yang. Yeah, wow. Can I speak or not? Yin and yang, disadvantages and advantages together, in an equal balance. Hopefully advantages a little bit more, but and to I think advantages are a very important thing to see.
So is there anything I did not ask you that you just want to tell me about dyslexia or your experience or anything?
I mean, NoticeAbility, but
yeah, go ahead, talk about that.
No, I won't go too in depth. I'll let my dad speak to that. But NoticeAbility is a course for dyslexics showing the advantages, not just the disadvantages, which as I spoke about before, I've done. And it's a great course, and I highly recommend if your school or if your homeschool can get that.
On a personal note, I just did the instructor training. So what advice would you have for instructors? Because I'm a little nervous, I'll be honest.
You're gonna be great, first of all. And second of all is really let the kids be themselves. Of course, this new quarantine platform is different, but in schools, like, a student sits on a desk, that's fine. They're getting comfortable. Even if it's in school, I think that it is, I think they need to have a sense of connection and sense of security. I, at least during this whole thing, when I've been doing this class, I am doing Zoom after Zoom and class after class, which is really difficult. But then when I get to go over into my class, or the class that I'm teaching, it's really, really nice because I can just really be myself, which is, I think, what you really want to let those kids do, especially when they're in a school setting. A lot of them, especially the ones that there's people that I've taught, and there's people that I've been group members with, and the first few classes are tough. It's hard to open up, especially about something that some people don't want to talk about, which is dyslexia, which I gotta say, I really recommend talking about it. We have this thing in our school which is called a affinity gathering, and there happens about once a month, and there are different ones. There's like Jewish, neurodiversity, boys of color, girls of color, all this. And I go to the neurodiversity one, because otherwise it's reading, which, again, so fun. It's really, really nice, and it's really good to bond, which I think is something that the NoticeAbility course also does. But I always remember this one thing that was said in the class, which is making something like neurodiversity a lot of people don't know about it, and people don't want to talk about it, and so it is neglected and stereotypes only survive. But if you can talk about it, it creates a new normal. And I've always talked about my dyslexia in great pride and in great frequency. Some of my classmates would say too frequent, but I talk about it, and I think it's really helpful. And I think if other people start talking about it, it just creates a new normal, making neurodiversity a normal, which it is, and it helps so much. And it also, there are difficulties along with it, but having only stereotypes survive outside of the people that have it is really difficult. So I really do recommend talking openly about it if you're able. Wow, I just went down a rabbit hole. Where were we?
Would you
Perfect.
read them this poem about
that's
school
it.
that you wrote?
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. I know you have a. Oh wait, sorry.
Yeah?
Question. Okay.
How do you describe dyslexia to your friends? What do you tell them? How do you explain it?
So I don't speak very, very much to close friends. I don't have many close friends, especially within my school. And when we don't talk about it a lot, which I would like to change. But when I speak to a large amount of people, or more than one person, or a person that I don't know, it's really nice because the first impression isn't, this is either a normal guy or this is a guy with dyslexia. Oh, I only know stereotypes, automatically assume stupid. I think just being able to explain, like, I have dyslexia. Dyslexia is not what you think it is. It is, and just kind of share those examples and those advantages. I think that's the key. So I don't describe it very much, as I said. I can't really describe it because I've got nothing to contrast it to. But explain the advantages as well. I mean, not just knowing the disadvantages there's nothing to it. It's like judging a book by its cover. It's really, you've got to see the whole thing. And I'm sorry for all the dyslexics that just cringed at me saying book. I do not recommend reading. No, reading is a good thing, but not overly so. Not if you don't enjoy it. My dad has asked me to read a poem that I wrote. Do we have time for that?
Yes. Yeah. It's up to you. I told I think I said to your mom I would be mindful of the time. So
I'm good. We can keep going, and then I can go to my next thing.
Oh gosh, this is a while ago, so I don't really remember this. But this was I remember the assignment that this went with. I had to write this for school. We were supposed to find a poem. We had 10 choices, and we were supposed to write a poem similar to it. So if there was a bunch of different, what are they called? Like if there were a lot of, what are they called?
Punctuation?
No, not punctuation, but like...
Metaphors?
Yeah, metaphors and similes and alliteration and that kind of thing. I mentioned it in the poem, so that's why I was looking. So we are supposed to kind of echo that and like the same amount of lines and such. And especially this past year, just want to say some stuff before we go fully into it. But this past year, I have definitely gone not against school, but I've definitely spoken my mind, which you're about to see in this poem. And in poems, I think I can really express my discontentment, especially when it comes to things like school. So this is my poem. Also, for all you, you can't see it, but there are a bunch of different. The poem was called Dyslexia, which very funny spelling. And the author wrote it with a bunch of different random capitals, which I also echoed. So if you ever see this poem in text, that's why. Okay. School can be hard when the words are askew and everyone else is faster than you, and all the different readings, long and short, fly away faster than a lacrosse ball, which is my favorite sport. And when everyone else gets to go outside and play, I'm denied that. I can't go, no way. I must go and sit in the classroom to do more work, when all I wish I could do is go and woodwork. As I move from class to class, I'm reminded how I have to go super fast. And when my favorite class rolls around, I already feel beaten to the ground. While the words go in one ear and out the other, I know that I'm about to go to another class. Another. Though people say they know what it's like, it makes me angry when they're wrong, and it makes me feel with dislike. As the day comes to an end, all I can think about is the fact that I am going to come back and do it again. But first, I know I am not yet done. There's no time to relax in the sun. For the homework I have is immense, and it takes me hours before I can say I'm done. And while I want to scream and shout, I'm not able to get the anger out. It makes me feel like a dragon who lit his tongue on fire. From school, I greatly tire. Gosh, just reading out loud. Sorry. And somehow I hope it will all go away, with a swish and a boom and a big blam away. But yet it stays constant as I work harder and harder. And it's so hard to learn about something you're not interested in, such as silent barter. In the rink or on the lacrosse field is where I truly thrive. But in school, I have a hard time even feeling like I have a chance to be alive. Even though I'm a lacrosse goalie and come back with many bruises, it feels better than being a student. And when I smell the paper and hear it rustle, I have an inner tussle. Do I stay where I know I'm not wanted, or do I go away? And next year I finally get to choose the second, and I won't come back to school only on the off chance to check in. I'm excited for my future opportunities that will replace school. It will be super cool. And though the current situation has made a dent in our plan, I will definitely not go back to school. No way, my man. As this poem comes to an end and I need to fill up space, I will just say that I think school is a dyslexic disgrace. And while I try to write this poem to perfection, all I can think is where I'm going to put the annoying alliteration. Now this poem is done. It's exactly 52 lines long. Though this poem has said some things that could seem pretty strong, they are how I feel, so they can't be wrong. So I would just like to follow up with that, which is every time I said school or student, it usually says my school name, which I've left out, but I by no means say that all schools or all teachers are like this. This is just me verbalizing within a poem how I feel about my school. And of course, this is during the very beginning of this whole online learning thing. What was it? It was recent. And my school has definitely been getting me worked up recently, which directly relates to the poem.
Wow. Can we get a copy of it? Would you be willing to share it?
Yeah, totally. Would you like the one with my school name or not?
No.
Probably, I think without.
Okay,
right?
I'll send that to you. Or I'll have my dad send that to you.
Wow, that was so powerful, Bodhi. Thank you. I was kind of welling up in the middle of it. Woo. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you for letting me.
Anything else that I feel like if you want to share something else, let me know.
No, I mean, I think that's it. I'm just looking around just to see if there's anything that's gonna strike inspiration.
We can wrap it up.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Okay. All right. great. Thank you. You are just delightful in every possible way. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Right back at you.
I mean, you're already doing amazing things. I hope that I get to follow you for your life so I can see where this is going.
Thank you so much.
It's going to be so incredible to watch. Yeah, and just thank you so much for agreeing to do this. You're going to help so many children and adults. I'm one of them. So thank you so much.
I'm so glad. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Dean, are you okay on that end?
Yeah, should I press record on the camera?
You have no idea, like, the pit in my stomach every time. I'm like, oh God, I hope it's working. Did you get it?